Hey guys, it's Tommy here with PSP at 14 Wing Greenwood. Today we're going to look at strength training for racket sports. So the first thing you need to look at when you're training for a sport is what are the common injuries and how can we work around that and how can we train to prevent them. So when we're looking at strains, our most common is in our lower back, 45%, followed by our shoulders at 19%, thighs at 17%, and then a variety of different areas make up the rest. So clearly we've got a big issue with lower back strains, a big issue with shoulders, and the rest are kind of even and spread across the rest of our body. So we look at sprains. So sprains is where our biggest difference happens. So when we look at ankles, are 94% of our sprains in racket sports. So obviously that's have to be a huge area of focus. The rest of our body making only 6% of the sprains. So clearly ankles are going to have to be a huge focus in our strength training for racket sports. So following that, we're looking at tendonitis. So the big ones here are shoulders, elbows, knees, and wrists. Everybody knows, obviously the common thing is tennis elbow. Start to get pain on the lateral side, the outside of our elbow, kind of overuse injury. So these are really common in racket sports where it's repetitive movement over and over again. And again, that's where strength training can come in and really help us mitigate those issues and prevent them from happening or try and reduce the recurrence of them after they've started. So here we're going to look at strength training for injury prevention, first of all, because obviously to be able to play, we don't want to be injured, so it doesn't matter if we're getting better. If we're still dealing with injuries, we can't play, we can't enjoy our time doing these racket sports. So the first thing we're looking at is the shoulder, and the big focus here is our muscles that decelerate our shoulder. So that's going to be in the posterior part of our shoulder, which you can see here. So some of the muscles that are going to decelerate, so they're going to slow our arm down as we come through that swing phase, to prevent us from just accelerating through and causing other injuries. So we have our biceps, our brachialis, our trapezius, or our traps back here, our rhomboids, serratus anterior, which is in here, and then our teres minor, which you can see kind of connects to our humerus there and then down onto our scapula. So these all play a huge role in slowing down the acceleration of our arm as we swing through when we're swinging a racket. So there's 3 exercises we're going to look at. They're going to target these areas. So the first one we have is a half kneeling cable face pull. So in this exercise, the individual is going to be down on one knee. We're going to set the cable height fairly high, about chest level. And then we're down on our knee, and you're going to pull the cable in to your face. So we're looking so we're using a rope attachment. We're kind of looking at that center piece on the rope, pulling it in. We're going to hold for a couple seconds, and then let it out. Next one we have is a banded pull apart. So the individual's just going to stand tall. You're going to hold a band and then just pull it back, squeezing your shoulder blades together, keeping your arms nice and straight. The last one we have is a cable external rotation. So this is a great exercise you can add to your warm-up. You can add to the end of your workout. It's just holding your elbow to your side and you're holding a handle on the cable machine and just turning your wrist out, trying to keep your wrist straight. And the big thing here we want to focus on is keeping our elbow locked on our side. So we only want to go out as far as we can without our elbow coming off of our body. So once we do that, we're kind of using other muscles or turning to open up. We're not really focusing on those external rotators at the shoulder. So we're trying to keep that elbow locked in. Don't worry about getting way far out. Just go as far as you can without your elbow coming off your body. All right, now we're going to look at the ankle again. We saw 94% of sprains that happen typically in racket sports are going to be at the ankle. So clearly it's a huge issue. And our main focus here is going to be on exercises that will help stabilize the ankle. So the first one we're looking at is a single leg deadlift. So it's a single leg hip hinge. We can load it in a variety of ways. You can do it unloaded just with your body weight where you're reaching out. You can have one dumbbell in your hand. You can have a dumbbell in each hand. And we'll progress all the way to using a barbell. But the best thing with a single leg deadlift, when you watch it, you'll be able to see the ankle really working to stabilize all the muscles around there, stabilizing the ligaments that are going to cause you issues if you do have an ankle sprain, are all going to be working really hard to keep you balanced as you go through the exercise. Next, we have our front foot elevated split squat, and we're going to have our heel off of whatever we're elevating our foot with. So in this case, we're going to use a bumper plate. We've got our front foot on the plate, but just our toes on. And then we're doing a regular split squat, just coming down, touching the ground, and coming back up. So again, we're really fighting to keep that ankle position, not letting the heel drop, and trying to strengthen all those muscles around the ankle, trying to prevent us from suffering an ankle sprain in our sport. And then we just have a soft pad balance. So this is just some proprioception, trying to figure out, kind of feel your ankle in space, trying to figure out what you need to contract, what you need to do to maintain that balance. So you're just standing on the pad. You can start doing just 10 seconds, and then you can add time as you go. You close your eyes, kind of impact the balance. And yeah, just progress that with time and progress it with having closed eyes. All right, then we're gonna look at strength training for performance. So we've gone over kind of the things we need to do to prevent injury, and now we can really look at building the performance. So when we're looking at preventing injury, we're kind of bringing up the floor of our training, and now with training for performance, we're trying to push the ceiling and really improve our skills, improve our power output when we're playing our sport. So the first exercise we're gonna look at is a half kneeling cable lift. These two are gonna focus on rotational strength. So obviously in racket sports, rotational strength is a huge component leading into rotational power. So if we get stronger rotationally, then we can be more powerful as we advance in our training. So first one we have is our half kneeling cable lift. So again, we're using the rope attachment on the cable machine, starting in a half kneeling position. So my inside leg is down. I'm grabbing the rope, pulling it into my chest, and then just pressing it forward. And the next one we have is a half kneeling landmine rotational press. So again, we're starting in half kneeling positions, so we have some stability. We can progress these as we go to standing exercises, but right now we're just starting with a half kneeling. So we're in half kneeling position. We have the landmine at our shoulder, and we're just gonna turn, extend our elbow, press out, and bring it back. Again, these are rotational strength exercises, which will progress into rotational power, which is obviously a huge component when we're looking at racket sports. So here we go into our rotational power. So our first exercise is a dynamic cable lift. So the first one we did, it's kind of broken up. It's pretty slow. We're really working on strength and not power. And now we're performing the same movement, but we're trying to do it quickly. So we've got the rope attachment on the cable. We're grabbing it and we're just pushing straight in. So we're not pulling to our chest, turning and then pressing. It's just one dynamic movement. We're pulling up and pushing out all at once, trying to move a little bit faster. Then we have our med ball side toss. Probably lots of people have seen this before. So you're just holding a med ball, your shoulder is facing the wall, and you're just swinging, throwing the med ball as hard as you can at the wall. We're really trying to work on that rotational power. One cue we use for that is just to try and squish a bug with your back foot. So we want to think we're turning that back foot as we throw, trying to squish a bug as we throw it at the wall. All right, then we're looking at overhead strength and stability. So obviously in our racket sports, there's a ton of overhead action. So we need to be strong and we need to be stable. So the first one is more of a strength exercise. It's a half kneeling landmine press. So for a lot of people, an overhead press with a dumbbell or with a barbell is fairly uncomfortable. But the landmine press kind of keeps us in one track of movement. It's not fairly easy, which is a little bit more stable. And this allows you to be a little bit more comfortable while you're doing it. And then we have an overhead carry. So this is going to be more stability focused. We're trying to maintain that shoulder position the whole time. So with this, you're going to use various distances when we're carrying. So you're holding a dumbbell, your arms straight over your head, and then you're walking, trying not to let your shoulder drift forward or back, trying to keep it so your elbow is in line with your ear the whole time. And as you get better, you can progress the distance that you use. Right now, you can just start with 5 to 10 steps on either side, and as you get better, you can add a little bit more distance. All right, then we're looking at our frontal plane. So these are movements that we go when we're going side to side. So a common mistake people make with their training is just a lot of sagittal plane stuff. So when you think of exercises like a deadlift, a trap bar deadlift, a front squat, split squat, this is all in one plane of movement, right? And we don't we don't step outside of that, but obviously when in racket sports, lateral movement is a huge component. Again, that comes back to our ankle sprain. Just being strong enough to be able to stop, change direction, and move without injuring ourselves is a huge component. So what we're looking at here is a landmine lateral split squat. So you're gonna hold the bar just like you would kind of with a goblet squat, where you're holding the end of the bar, starting in a wide stance, and then you're just sitting down and back to either side. You're gonna alternate each side. And then we have a dumbbell lateral lunge. So this is a little bit more dynamic. So with our lateral split squat with the landmine, our feet are in a fixed position. And with the dumbbell lateral lunge, we're starting with our feet together, stepping out, and then coming back to the middle each time. So the first one we're starting with a little more static. and then we're getting a little bit more dynamic. All right, and then we're gonna look at, finally, we're gonna look at acceleration strength. So obviously racket sports, they tend to happen in a smaller area. So we've really gotta be able to accelerate quickly, get to the net. If somebody gives us a drop shot, then we've gotta get there really quickly to try and return. So acceleration is huge in racket sports. So the first one we're looking at is a dumbbell goblet reverse lunge. So here you're holding the dumbbell in the goblet position, hands on either side, and then you're just stepping back and coming back to a standing position. So you're stepping back, reaching down, knee taps the ground, and then you're trying to pop up, almost like you're gonna go sprint. So that's the kind of intent we're trying to have. We're stepping back nice and slow, and then we're trying to pop up. Think like you're going to sprint, like you have to get to the net. And then we have a progression for this would be a dumbbell goblet split squat with your rear foot elevated. So we can have our foot on a roller pad, we could have it on a bench, whatever you have access to, still holding in a goblet position. We want to think of the same idea. So we're sinking down and back, and when we come up, we really want to come up and forward. We don't just want to come straight up, because when we sprint, we always want to have that forward lean. So in both of these exercises, we're thinking we're popping out of the bottom, we're coming up and forward. So hopefully these exercises can help you out, help you prevent some injuries, and then increase your performance in your sport. Try them out, let us know how they work for you. Thank you very much.